Let's begin today's Vanguard news with Bushiroad pandering to your nostalgia once again, as the next wave of high rarity energy cards and EZBT09 will feature characters from the original Vanguard series during the G era. Funny how Tetsuo was left out despite being part of Ren's team, like he isn't as marketable as Asuka. Furry fans, I mean Great Nature mains, rejoice. You can now start selling off your Magnolia decks, as a more anthropomorphic deck has come to give you your fix. I mean a more Great Nature playstyle has finally come to the D series. Inus the Bouncer is your typical D series starter that will immediately be replaced by either a cooler or cuter card. Jaagra the Fighter, when ridden over by Elkour the Smasher, lets you pay 1 discard and reveal a grade 3 Skyruler card from your eye deck to call up to 1 grade 1 card with 6k or lower power that isn't a sentinel from your deck. Without going into its supports and looking at this card by itself, it's asking you to either run an extra starting Vanguard in your deck or just call a trigger. Follower Rabbits is a grade 1 unit with 5k base power. While on rearguard during your turn, it gets 1k power for each of your rearguards with the same name as this unit, including itself. And when it's placed on rearguard, mill up to 1 card from the top of your deck. Then you can pay 1 discard if you revealed a Skyruler card from your eye deck, or have a grade 3 or higher Skyruler Vanguard to call up to 1 Follower Rabbits from your deck or drop zone. But you can pay 1 counter blast and a discard instead to call up to 3 Follower Rabbits. Having 4 copies of this card on rearguard will give them 4k power, thus turning them into 10k units. So on your grade to right turn, you can potentially have 2 columns with 20k power, but your hand might be small due to needing 2 discard cost. Elkour the Smasher, when ridden over by a grade 3 Skyruler card, lets you pay 1 Soul Blast to mill up to 1 card from the top 5 cards of your deck, then add a grade 2 or higher unit card from your drop zone to your hand. This card feels like it's just a Sensia, but with extra steps and cost. Belga the Skyruler, while on Vanguard during your turn, gets 5k power if you have 10 or more cards in your drop zone. It gets 15k power instead if you have 20 or more cards in your drop zone. Once per turn while on Vanguard, you can pay 1 counter blast to add a card from the top 2 cards of your deck and milling the rest. And once per turn while on Vanguard, you can pay 1 counter blast at the end of the battle it attack to Vanguard to stand all of your rear guards in 1 column. Then stand all of your rear guards if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or higher and you have 15 or more cards in your drop zone. This is like what? The 3rd Stoicheia deck that needs to have a lot of cards in the drop zone to function properly. You'd think a card with Skyruler as its name would need cards to be in your hand to simulate being in the sky. What we got is a bird that wants your junk pile to reach the sky instead. Practiced Mustela, when put on the Guardian Circle, lets you pay 1 Soul Blast if you have a grade 3 or higher Skyruler Vanguard to get 5k shields. It gets 15k shields instead if you have 15 or more cards in your drop zone. This seems like a actual good defensive card if only the deck had a way to speed up the drop zone. Heavy Spike Grizzly, while on rearguard during your turn, gets the boost ability and 5k power if you have a grade 3 or higher Skyruler Vanguard and you have 10 or more cards in your drop zone. At this point, I'm convinced that Bushiroad wants you to fill this deck with Stoicheia generics instead of using this deck's filler supports due to how slow and bland they are. Finally, Thruster Vixen, when placed on rearguard that isn't by unit card's ability, lets you retire a rearguard with a different name from herself to call up to 1 card with the same name as herself from your deck or drop zone. And while on rearguard, you can mill the top card of your deck at the beginning of your battle phase if you have a grade 3 or higher Skyruler Vanguard to get 5k power and shields until the end of your opponent's next turn. Then she gets another 5k power and shields if you have 15 or more cards in your drop zone. Be honest, you clicked on this video just for seeing her in the thumbnail. And I guess this card is how the deck would get cards to the drop zone quickly. Only problem now is there's no way of reusing your cards in the drop zone unless you use generic staples in the nation. So good freaking luck once you use up all your copies of this card in Follower Rabbits. The lack of support synergy besides this card makes it very likely that Bushiroad will release a promo card for this deck in the future just to work properly. And that concludes this Vanguard news without the bullshit. Special thanks to my Patreon members for continuing to support my content creation. Be sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments if you get a game lost for stalling due to counting your drop zone every minute trying to play this deck.